Tyrion pulled the curtain back an inch to peer outside. But there was little to see but ochre fields, bare brown elms, and the road itself, a broad stone highway that ran straight as a spear to the horizon. He had read about Valyrian roads, but this was the first he had seen. Hey everyone, Crowfood's daughter here, and if you clicked on this video, you have reached the Disputed Lands. I have returned with another video, and as promised, we will be discussing a little discovery I'd made while looking over the world map. As the title of this video suggests, I believe there appears to be a Valyrian Dragonroad that was never completed and remains unfinished. Now let's get started. So Dragonroads. The Dragonroads of Valyria are supposed to be amazing things to behold, and were detailed by Lomas Longstrider as one of the 9 wonders made by man. They are described as broad highways of fused stone forged by dragonfire that were built long ago when the Valyrian Freehold was the dominant power in Essos. These roads cover many portions of Essos that were dominated by the Valyrian Freehold and allow for swift travel among merchants, traders, travelers, and armies. From the world map, you can see there are 2 separate sets of roads, with one located in the northern half of Essos, connecting several free cities, and another set located in southern Essos that connect the lower portions of the Freehold, including Valyria itself. As you can see, the Dragonlords never quite got around to connecting the southern portions of the Freehold to its northern free cities. Interestingly, according to the text, one of the key features of these roads is their incredibly straight nature. We see Tyrion describe these roads as being straight as a spear. In addition to Tyrion, Dany also describes the roads in a similar fashion. They raced down Valyrian roads 1,000 years old and straight as a Dothraki arrow. For half a moon, they rode through the forests of Qohor, where the leaves made a golden canopy high above them, and the trunks of the trees were as wide as city gates. So when you look at a map of Essos, you can see these descriptions are by no means an exaggeration. On the world map, the trajectories of Dragonroads are depicted as perfectly straight lines, each appearing to be a direct path from one destination to the next. In fact, the only time we see a Dragonroad change its trajectory before reaching a destination is when the contours of a coastline prohibit a direct path. In addition to Dragonroads being incredibly straight, another characteristic of Dragonroads is that there is always a social or economic center for a destination. This makes quite a bit of sense because generally a road that didn't lead to anything or anywhere particular wouldn't be very useful, right? If you look at the legend for the Lands of Ice and Fire world map, a black dot represents a city present in the current timeline, and a white dot represents a ruined city. As you can see, the map illustrates how every Dragonroad travels from one city or ruined city to the next, and the next, and the next. Well, almost every Dragonroad. There is actually one Dragonroad that does not depict any type of city for its final destination. In fact, it seems to stop in the middle of nowhere. At first glance, I assumed the mapmaker simply forgot to place a marker for this endpoint. Probably a simple mistake, or maybe the final destination was too insignificant of a place to warrant a landmark. This also crossed my mind. But still, I found this unusual and wondered, what if this was done on purpose? While looking at this road, I also remembered how incredibly straight the Dragonroads are. So I humored my curiosity, and I decided to get a straight edge out and see where the trajectory was taking the road. As you can see from the map, this road is headed straight for the ruined city of Croyane, also known as the Sorrows. Once I saw this, I realized it is possible there is no endpoint because it never made it to its destination. Basically, it was never completed. This would mean that the Dragon Lords were in the process of building a road to Croyne during the Second Spice War, and when the city was turned into a grayscale infected wasteland, construction was most likely abandoned. This one feature on the world map could likely tell us quite a bit surrounding the Valyrian motives for war with the Rhoynish. As a name like the Second Spice War suggests, the motives for this final war were most likely economic and trade-related. As we learn in the World Book, the catalyst for the Rhoynish princes banding together was the desolation of Sarhoy, a port city said to be a rival of Volantis and equally powerful. Like Volantis, Sarhoy controlled one of the mouths of the Rhoyne and directly competed with Valyrian trade moving upstream. By destroying Sarhoy, the Valyrians single-handedly took control of sea trade moving up the river. But to truly control trade moving both up and down the river, you would also need Croyne, which was located in the heart of the Rhoyne and described as the greatest and richest of the Rhoynish cities. There was Goyandro in the Velvet Hills with its groves and waterfalls. Nysar, the city of fountains, alive with song. Arnoy on the Coin with its halls of green marble. Pale Sarmel of the flowers. Seagirt Sarhoy with its canals and saltwater gardens. And Croyne, greatest of all, the festival city with its great palace of love. So Croyne is described as the greatest of the Rhoynish cities, which means that Croyne was most likely incredibly powerful. You see, the Rhoynish city of Sarhoy was said to rival that of Volantis. Yet despite Sarhoy rivaling Volantis, the city of Croyne was described as the greatest of all Rhoynish cities. You could say Croyne was a prize to be won. This was the most beautiful city on the river, and the richest, said Yandri. Croyne, the festival city. Too rich, thought Tyrion. Too beautiful. It is never wise to tempt the dragons. Additionally, knowing the Valyrian Freehold possessed 2 sets of Dragonroads, I also speculate this was not merely a prize to be won, but also possibly Valyria's one attempt to connect the upper and lower portions of the Freehold. If successful, Valyria would have gained one of the richest and most powerful cities, monopolized trade in the region, and possibly even improve their social infrastructures by connecting the Freehold. However, things did not go as planned, and Croyne was destroyed by Garin, becoming a flooded and diseased wasteland, known in present day as the Sorrows. So, after finding this, I guess the big question is, what does this all mean? Well, it seems as though there are 2 possibilities. So, with Garin and his struggles being discussed in Arianne's point of view, and an entire chapter dedicated to the Sorrows and the Shrouded Lord, I believe it's possible we could learn further information surrounding Garin and the fall of the Rhoynar. Tyrion has already alluded to this rich and beautiful city tempting the dragons, so this is a possibility. However, I think the simplest explanation is this. The maps of the lands of Ice and Fire were published in part to complement the World of Ice and Fire, which was published an entire 2 years later. Unfortunately, during that time, the World of Ice and Fire underwent a heavy and extensive editing process. George R. Martin stated in a 2014 interview that his publishers had requested 50,000 words of text for the World Book. George went on to explain that in response to this, co-authors Elio Garcia and Linda Antonsen had written a whopping 70,000 words. Not to be outdone, George then stated that he also answered to this request by contributing 300,000 words of content, in addition to the 70,000 provided by Elio and Linda. Needless to say, many portions our author had intended for the World of Ice and Fire faced the chopping block, and this was probably one of them. I think the backstory of this road was most likely meant to be detailed in the World Book, but just never came to fruition. Well, that about wraps things up for today. As promised, my next video will be covering some surprising things about Baelor the Blessed, so be sure to like and subscribe for more content.